UTKARSH ASTHANA'S DEMOCRACIAN. The forceful occupation of Taliban over Afghanistan. How a terrorist organization governs a nation. Hi guys, this is UTKARSH M and Dollurix and you're watching HUBDemocracian Season 1 Episode 6. So in the 6th part of HUBDemocracian series of my channel Wondertainment Zone, I am going to talk about the forceful occupation of Taliban on Afghanistan. And hence we will discuss that how a terrorist organization governs a nation. So we all know that Taliban is a US military product or a so-called terrorist group developed by America, made by America. They only have made it, and till the time it worked for their cause, for their purpose, till that time it was a good terrorist group. But when it turned its back against them, then it became a terrorist group. So you see, that's how the bad American politics is. That first they make a group, till the time it works for them, it's good. But when it turns against them, it is declared as a terrorist group. So now what they have created, that group only has turned against them. They only have created this headache on their own. And not only they have to just suffer with it because of it, but the whole world has to. Even poor Afghanistan has to also suffer a lot because of it. So the Talibani terror began in Afghanistan from 1996 when this terrorist group first annexed and attacked on Kabul, Afghanistan's capital. Till that time, Afghanistan was a Islamic Socialist Republic. But now, as soon as this group came, they tried to make Afghanistan turn into a Emirati Islamic Republican state, or a state ruled by the Sharia law, where they would forcefully make the people do things as per the Sharia law of Islam, and this state just became a bloody dictatorship from being a republican, democratic kind of state as it was earlier. And this forceful occupation on Afghanistan by Taliban lasted from 1996 to 2001 when the US military troops forced Taliban out of Afghanistan and they just fled away like cowards. But then that only gave birth to the beginning of terror attacks. 9/11, 26/11, 9/11, the Twin Tower attacks on USA, 26/11, the Taj Hotel bombings in Mumbai, and the 2008 Mumbai Terror Attacks. It just gave birth to all these terrorist activities only by Taliban and ISIS. And not to forget, Jaish-E-Lashkar. Together, these three terrorist organizations made living hellish for the whole world. And what problem rose because of US, now the whole world had to suffer because of that evil problem, Taliban, which only later gave birth to ISIS or Islamic State for Iraq and Syria, and not to forget Jaish-E-Lashkar. So long story short, we can for sure say that Taliban is the mother of global terrorism, and we can never forget that it all started because of the US. After the assassination of OSAMA bin Laden, Taliban's then chief, Taliban sat quiet for a few years, but this silence turned into a deadly and disastrous reoccupation of Afghanistan just after a few years. On 15th August 2021, the day on which we celebrate our Indian independence, that day only turned to be a nightmare for Afghanis, as that day Afghan National Forces and Kabul surrendered and Taliban once again reoccupied their nation forcefully. And thus, the terror rule of Taliban on Afghanistan once again began for the second time, and this time they imposed full Sunni Hanafi law for governance over the state of Afghanistan, and this made Afghanistan become a full Islamic Mohammedan state, which pulled it back and whatever progress was done there during its Republican time, all was just finished, and Afghanistan came back 20 years just because of this primitive thinking of Taliban. And that is really just sad to say, but since the time Afghanistan has been once again being ruled by Taliban, again we can see that things are deteriorating in the state. Also, we can see that in the second inning of Taliban's rule on Afghanistan, the tortures and pains inflicted on Ahmadiyya and Shia Muslims have increased tremendously because Taliban is a pro-Sunni Islamist organization, and it only supports Sunni Muslims, and it is fully against Shia and Ahmadiyya Muslims, and so the crimes and tortures done on the Shia and Ahmadiyya Muslim communities have increased a lot under the second inning of Taliban's rule on Afghanistan. But at the same time, Pashtuns are flourishing a lot under the second inning of Afghanistan's Talibani rule because the Pashtuns are a kind of Sunnis, and as Taliban is a pro-Sunni Islamist organization, so the Pashtuns and Sunni will for sure flourish. That's obvious. But think about Ahmadiyya and Shia Muslims, whatever pains are being inflicted on them. It's just ridiculous that here, even in Islam, there are so many divisions, and organizations like Taliban are just supporting one group of Islamists and Muslims and not a whole religion as a single entity. It's really sad to think about this and know about this, but what can we do? That is how it is. Under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan, the militarization of military has advanced a lot because this pro-Sunni Islamist organization is paying a lot of attention on making their defense side a lot stronger. Even they are giving many dangerous and fully fledged weapons to their police also. So their police can prove to be a backup for their military, and their police is nothing less than a paramilitary force. Under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan, the life for women has become nothing less than hellish because this pro-Sunni Islamist organization forces women to stay in burqa and all the medieval Islamist stuff, like as if they are living 1,000 years back, and that is what is happening with them even in modern times, such as 2024. So you see, even today, because of this Talibani rule on Afghanistan, women have to live like they used to live in medieval style, in this old school style. And in general only, the second inning of Talibani rule on Afghanistan has proved to be very bad for Afghanistan, nothing less than a nightmare because of this forceful occupation of this pro-Islamist organization over Afghanistan. Now Afghanistan has gone decades back. Even in these modern times, Afghanistan is living and leading a medieval lifestyle just because of Taliban, the pro-Sunni Islamist organization. Just like their backward thinking, Taliban's stand on education is also very medievalistic, as they think that education should be only provided to men and boys and not to women and girls, as they have no right to education. This is what they think. So bad and medievalistic thinking, backward. Now the world has moved on. Taliban should also move on, but they are not at all ready to move on. They are very rigid, very so-called traditional and backward, I would just say. And because of this only, because of their strong stance on violence against women and no education for women, the Talibani government of Afghanistan is not at all able to find any world partners or is not able to make ties with any global elites or global nations, superpowers, just because of this so-called backward thinking of theirs. This is so bad. If you even compare the stand on education for women taken by other Islamist states and nations, then they are also very progressive and developed, as they all think that women must deserve education, and as they deserve, they should get education for sure. So even the other Islamic states who Taliban consider to be their ideals, they are also having such progressive thinking, and they are also willing to move on with the world. But when will Taliban do so? Let's just see. Also, violence against women has risen a lot, and lot. Under the second inning of Talibani rule on Afghanistan, most number of marital rapes, gang rapes, and physical and mental violence against women can be seen under the second inning of Talibani rule on Afghanistan, and this only just showcases their so-called backward thinking of considering women not as a human being but as an object which first belongs to the father and then to the husband. Really ridiculous and backward thinking. Really bad. But that is how it is. If you come on the part of stand taken on the education of boys and men by Talibani government in Afghanistan under the second inning, then you can see that though they are ready to provide education to boys and men, but that too also very limited and not by professional teacher but by mullah or maulvi. They are religious preachers, and the education will also be not a professional education of science or any technology, but instead lessons from Quran, their holy book in Islam, which once again showcases their medievalistic and backward thinking, that they don't consider education important enough even for men and boys, leave women alone. Also, we can see that under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan, no infrastructural development has occurred. Instead, deterioration in infrastructural development has only occurred, which means the pre-existing infrastructures were also being destroyed by Talibanis, and no new infrastructure was being built by Taliban's so-called government for Afghans, the natives of Afghanistan. Poverty has increased tremendously under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan. The most number of deaths which have taken place under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan since 2021 are due to hunger, as hunger levels have rose tremendously just like the poverty levels under this second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan, which is fully nightmarish and hellish for Afghans, the natives of Afghanistan. According to a recent survey conducted, the most number of human rights violations have taken place in Afghanistan under the second inning of Talibani rule there since 2021. And that's why only in a list of top 10 Asian nations where most number of human rights violations have taken place, Afghanistan is ranked first, thanks to Taliban for that, as these human rights violations are a result of their oppressive rule on Afghans and Ahmadiyya and Shia Muslims. So on the basis of all the factors presented till now, we can for sure say that life under the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan is for sure hellish and nightmarish for Afghans, Pathans, Ahmadiyya and Shia Muslims, and is not one worth living at any cost. So to conclude this HUBDemocracian Season 1 Episode 6 on the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan, I will just say that right now the living conditions in Afghanistan are worse than that of hell, and there's no timeline that till which time these pains are being inflicted upon Ahmadiyya, Shia and the Afghani Muslims and Pathans. There's no timeline. But let's wait for that day when the Afghans once again gain their freedom from these oppressive Talibani forces, and let's see and wait for the day when once again Afghanistan becomes a democratic and republican country, the same as it was once before the second Talibani inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan. Let's see, let's wait for that golden day of the Afghans. Let's wait for Afghans to just regain and retain their freedom. Because if Afghans want to gain their freedom, then they will have to raise their voice on their own. The same way they will have to fight for their freedom as our Indian freedom fighters did to gain their freedom and independence from the Britishers. Like that only, they will also have to fight freedom wars. They'll have to martyr themselves for their nation, and then only they will be able to gain their sovereignty, independence and secularity once again after gaining their freedom from the oppressive Talibani forces. They will have to fight for their own freedom for sure. So let's see, let's wait for a day when they do so. So this is it. Hope you guys liked this Democracian Season 1 Episode 6 on the second inning of Talibani rule in Afghanistan. If really then do, please click on like, subscribe, share this video with your friends and stay tuned on Hub the Wondertainment Zone for more amazing entertaining Hub videos on geopolitics just like this one. Also don't forget to follow us on our Instagram handle UTKARSH Hub.co_Insta for amazing, entertaining and next level intuitive technical insights and sneak peeks of our upcoming Hub videos on our YouTube channel ASTHANA'S Hub the Wondertainment Zone. This is me UTKARSH M Dollurix signing off. I will meet you in the next one. Till then, bye bye and adios. Yo, thanks for watching. Follow us on our Instagram handle UTKARSH Hub.co_Insta for amazing, entertaining and intuitive technical insights and sneak peeks of our upcoming Hub videos on our YouTube channel AFGHAN'S Hub the Wondertainment Zone. Download the Software Hub app today.